Hello and welcome to today's review of the Transformers 2007 movie Real Gear Robots Booster X10. Now, you look at this and you go, looks a bit familiar, but if you can't figure it out and have no idea what it is, you're not alone, because I had the exact same thing happen to me. Now, I looked at this and I thought, it is very familiar. It kind of reminds me of this old MP4 thing I had many years ago. And then a friend of mine said it looks a bit like a kind of a transceiver thing that you might see in a video game or whatever. They hold it, kind of whatever. Tap some buttons. You've got a little interface here, and then you've got an earpiece to put on. I was thinking, that makes perfect sense. And then I was doing a bit of research on some of the other Real Gears, and I discovered that this is kind of based off of the iPod, like an original like iPod Mini or whatever. Just an old iPod model in general, whatever. The specifics aren't the most important thing here, but generally, that's quite cool. You learn something new. Now, overall, this mode is quite cool. I do like it. The earpiece is very ineffective. I'm an adult, so it's not going around my ears, but even if you're a child, I think you might have some difficulty with it. But generally, it's a cool little thing, and this does, it does function in the robot mode, or bird mode in this case, spoiler alert. But it will work in tandem with the bot, which is cool. So let's just move on to our size comparison, and then we'll kind of get onto that. So for the alt mode size comparison, here we have Booster. We are just going to be comparing him to all of the other Real Gear figures. No General Deluxes, Voyagers, Legends, nothing like that. No Ralph or Steve. Let's go. Long View, Midnighter, High Score, Power Up, Spy Shot, Zoom Out, and last but not least, Speed Dial. So, generally, all of these look bloody brilliant together. This is all 8 mods, only one version of each. I decided I wouldn't include both watches for this, considering that's the only mold I've got multiple versions of, and it just didn't make sense. Once you've seen one, you've seen them all. The only thing that's going to change is the color. Generally, though, these all look good together. I've said it in the last review also that I would prefer to have the blue version of this. It's like a baby blue. Its name is Nightbeat. No relation to the G1 character with the same name. But Hasbro name reuse and whatnot, keeping trademarks, all that jazz. But yeah, generally this is cool. Looks cool with everything else. Nothing really to add. I just think these are cool little props for, I don't know, maybe cosplays or something, or children could have good fun with these and pretend play. So yeah, something cool to point out. But they also do make for some really cool small Transformers, so I can't knock it. Let's just move straight onto our transformation. So for the bird mode, man, you look at this, you might think, looks a bit familiar. I say yes, you are correct. It does look a bit familiar. It looks an awful lot like a kind of rendition of G1 Laserbeak. Color scheme and all. Sure, Laserbeak didn't have any orange on him, but the red and black with the silver highlights, kind of the fact he's got the yellow beak, Decepticon insignia right on the head. It's definitely Laserbeak inspired. And that's not really a knock, but it is why I'd prefer the blue version, because this looks something too similar to what I already have, I've got the Masterpiece Laserbeak, and I've got the Dramatic Capture Soundwave Laserbeak, which is the Netflix mod. So yeah, but it's cool, you know. And as I said, the earpiece does come into effect for the bird mode or bot mode, whatever you want to say. You know, it does peg onto the top of this, so you can fly around shooting people, which is it's alright, you know. Um, I don't hate this. It's definitely cool. And let's just move straight on to our robot mode size comparison. So for the bird mode or bot mode size comparison, like with the last section, we're just going to compare it to all of the other Real Gear robots, which does mean I've had to transform 7 other figures for this review, but I only have to do it once, and I don't think I'll ever top that record. So let's go. Here we have long view, spy shot, zoom out, power up, high score, midnighter, and last but not least, speed dial. So generally, the robot modes across the board for all of these are solid. Some of them I do really like the bot modes. Booster, now, look, I said it before, but the bot mode looking too much like Laserbeak does kind of ruin the experience for me. You know, I liked these all being very unique. Laserbeak is Laserbeak. This looks like Laserbeak. It's not unique. Yeah, I just preferred it had been something different. Hell, they could have made it a bloody dragon, you know. A dragon. That would have been sick to go with all of these, you know. Hell, all they would have had to have done is have the wings. Wow, it's not even focusing on this. Crikey, mate. Okay, so after some camera readjustments, yeah, everything was just playing up a bit, but like I was saying, to cut a long story short, this looks too much like Laserbeak. I don't like the fact it looks too much like Laserbeak. It just kind of takes away from the originality of all of these and, you know, what they were supposed to be. You know, just cool little transforming robots that are rather self-contained. But oh well, you know, generally they all look good together. Let's just move on to articulation. So for the articulation on the bird mode, hopefully this actually works. I've had to reshoot this twice now because it keeps not focusing. Anyway, wings go up that much. Wings will go up slightly more on this side than this side due to the fact there's a rubber piece on the like ear bit that will kind of get in the way. But anyway, they go up that much. Wings will go in that much, like so. They will swing outwards like this. They will swing backwards a little bit more. There you go. Well, I mean, not a little bit more than what it was going forward, but a little bit further back than they were already sat. So that's that. The hinges don't go downwards. That sucks, but oh well. The tail, if you want to call it that, only goes downwards, mostly for transformation. Then the legs, last but not least, or actually there's one other thing I could think of, but you go kick that much up, that much back. There's a bit of a kind of side joint here due to the fact it's bald. Ankle goes just back all the way. And there is like this leg joint which is like reverse knee or whatever for a perch position. It doesn't go too far in due to the fact it's really only there for the transformation. Same kind of deal with both legs, and then your head is going to swivel all the way around. And then this section on the head, as you can see, it's on a little tab here, right? Little nub in there. You'd think it could rotate, but it doesn't. Yeah, any movement too drastic will just pop that section off. But yeah, there you go, bird mode. Solid stuff, I guess. You know, I've already gave my 2 cents about it and what I think the problems are. So we're just going to move on to my final thoughts. So my final thoughts for Booster X10. Well, you know, he is not my least favourite of these Real Gear toys overall. You know, that distinction goes to Power Up. Power Up is just boring in bot mode. Specifically for the fact that the articulation is a bit weird. The design of the bot mode isn't anything unique or too enjoyable to look at, nor is this. shorty fragmented wings, which look like the feathers are kind of like crystally. That's cool and all, but it looks like Laserbeak. I'm not going to rag on that too much. But the aesthetics on this guy, I'm giving him a 4 out of 5 on aesthetics because Laserbeak. The alt mode, however, is brilliant. And if they had just kind of changed the head on this or whatever, I would have looked past everything else because it wouldn't look too much like the other thing. Transformation on this guy, though, 4.5 out of 5. It's nothing fancy, it's incredibly straightforward, but it gets the job done. Allows us to get between this mode and the iPod-y mode, you know, is effective. Articulation on this guy, it's here. Do I feel it could have been better? I really ain't sure. I've not seen too many figures that kind of operate like this at this size and articulate more, you know. And to be more specific, I've really not seen many small scale Transformers figures that have kind of bird modes. One of the only ones that pops up is an old Energon figure that I have. Yeah, just whatever. This is smaller than that though, and it does a good enough job at articulating, I guess, but because it feels kind of it feels below average for maybe what it could have been, I'll just give it a 2 out of 5. And value for money on this guy. Now, despite all the critiques, overall it is a solid toy to play with. You know, the articulation is pretty much there for what you might want. You know, I'll give it a 4 out of 5 on that. And that's purely because, you know, if we're still looking at the fact that Transformers around this time around at kids, and this was a really cheap figure, you know, something you could pick up with pocket money or whatever, a kid could have fun with this. It's a robotic bird, right? You know, and the iPod mode, much like the others, cool little pretend play item. So yeah, there you go, solid stuff. Overall, he's whatever he is. And yeah, that's really it, folks. All the Real Gear stuff is now done. The next review will be Revenge of the Fallen's in what in the world is its name? Ejector, the little silver gremlin thing that turns into a toaster. He will be our honorary Real Gear robot, you know, so maybe we could claim there's 9. If you count Revenge of the Fallen Scalpel, you could say there's 10. But that toy is terrible, and I don't own him because he's too prone to breakage. So this has been AnimatedCHUG. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in a day or two for the next review.